Go for it.
Okay. Go to the next slide. So the plan is so that people on Zoom and the people in the room can hear what we're.
Cecil might have to speak up for the mic, please.
Speak up.
Okay, we're going to try to hold all the questions and comments and discussions at the end. We will pass the mic around so that the people on Zoom can hear, because
Update.
the 13 of us in the rooms start talking, they can't hear us on Zoom, so we'll just do that at the end. Next slide. I worked for a big company, and I had one vice president I thought was very smart. He had us every year pick a topic we knew absolutely nothing about. We had to go research it and look into it, understand it enough to get up and make a PowerPoint presentation and get up in front of the whole group. That was 164 when we started. At the end, there were 69 of us, so it was a big group when that you're in front of. So I'm not an expert. It's just what I've seen on internet, what I've looked up in YouTube's and stuff. In 2017, Bruce and John Gorman actually did a presentation of the same sort, and so I borrowed some of his stuff. So there may be errors. My son works for a big company, and his company's pushing all this AI, but all his information is proprietary. So 50% of the time when they do an AI search, they give them the wrong answer because all their stuff is not out on the internet to go grab and make a opinion or decision. So there could be errors. One of the comments I saw was, if you really want to start an argument in a train club, start talking about how to clean track, and you'll see as we go here why that can be. So this is mainly going to be track cleaning. I'm not going to get into the other ones, which could be you just have a poor connection. It's part of your track, or the distance from your power supply. If you're not getting enough amps out there, your track could be out of gauge, or your engine could be dirty, and it could be the wheels or the contacts in the engine. Well, today we're just going to, I'll let somebody else try to address those issues, but we're just going to do track cleans for today. This was from Bruce, is 2000 and John's 2017. Plastic wheels was the question is the primary source of gunk, and their opinion was it's probably not true. Source is related to the dust content of the room. So it's definitely true. So if you've got a lot of, depending on like, if you're in, like Bob's got yours in the garage, you're probably going to be a little more susceptible to having a lot of dust on your track. If you're dedicated and got a heated, cooled room, you might be a little bit better. We'll get into more on the cleaning agents, leaving contaminants behind, and that's not good. And definitely, like Bruce is doing right now with all the construction dust, that can lead to a lot of problems. So the main goal here is you want to try to get your best conductivity between the track and the engine wheels. It's not as much the inside of the wheels, but it's the flat surface of the wheel to the track. And so problem areas are scratching and pitting on the surface of the track. Want to get into that. Dirty track and in your engine wheels. I don't know if you've ever done it. I actually can see this with the lights on, but if you turn the lights out in your track room and you see sparks between the track and it's probably not a good thing going on. And I worked in injection molding, and we actually used a method called EDM, which is electric discharge machine. Next actually has you made all injection molds. So the outside, the part that went in the inside was very easy. You just took the end mill and you made that part. But to make the cavity, there was no way to really burn that in. So the inside of your train cars and stuff, the outside is the cavity, the inside is the core. The cores are easy to make. The cavity, you have to actually burn into a solid block of steel. So that in the United States, we use graphite. In Europe and Asia, they use, copper. They make electrode and they burn it, they push it down into the metal. And it jumps a spark between the electrode and the metal that you're cutting. And there's fluid washing through that, and it actually ends up melting the metal that you cut into. If you look under a microscope, it's a little melted beads of metal, and that fluid washes it out using multiple electrodes. When you get done, it's very, very rough, and they use multiple electrodes and finer and finer electric to get down to a somewhat smooth surface. And after that, they actually have to hand polish it with diamond stones and diamond paste, which is very tedious, and actually very talented people to be able to make that work. But that's what's happening on top of your track. So if you see those sparks, that's actually eating away your top of your track and your wheels. That spark is actually taking pieces away, which is not good to your contact. Just a little chemistry. I'm not a chemist. My wife's a chemistry teacher, but I didn't even ask her, but there was multiple things on the internet about different solvents. Polar solvents, as we all know, H2O, water, you got a bond holding the two hydrogen to the oxygen. Some of those bonds in chemicals are very strong and they don't want to let stuff in. Some of them are very weak and they do it. So if you have a weak bond, it's going to collect stuff. So if you've got stuff in the air and contaminants in the air, it's going to contract to one that are polar. The next one, then you see the examples: water, ethyl alcohol, ethyl alcohol, acetone stuff. Next one, semi-polar, it's kind of a middle ground, and ethyl acetate is one. Then you have non-polar that are very strong bonds, that they're cleaning agents. A lot of them are mineral based, and they don't break apart and they don't collect. They don't attract dirt and things. Next, truck cleaning methods. A lot of people believed in these car cleaning kits. The big problem you have on that is the solvent that you're using. If you get too much of that solvent, it will actually eat your tires, plastic tires. And most of them are gravity fed, so you're just opening up a vent on top, trying to control how much is coming out and not out. So that leads to problems if you really get too much on it. They're great if you have huge layouts that you can't get to. They're great for that. Controlling the solvent, as I said, the problem. Other thing is keeping the pads clean. Once you've gone around a few times, if you take them off, your pads are very, very dirty. A lot of comments on if you should push or pull that car. But if you do, whatever you do, take a engine that you don't like and only use that engine, because it's going to either collect or pick up. If you're pushing or pulling, it's going to collect or pick up a lot of junk because you're loosening it up with that pad. But so there were a lot of people that believed in it and not believed in it. Well, this is from John, showing different kinds of cleaning cars, John and Bruce. At the end, they really recommended you just build your own. But there's a lot of different types out there that you can get, and most of them didn't specify what kind of fluids you put in them, but a lot of them using acetone, which is not good for plastics. Next. Bright Boy. I think everybody has had a Bright Boy. When I worked, I carried one in my pocket. Because I worked on all the injection molds and the tooling. Very good to take off corrosion or a little bit of rust or anything. But if I don't know how many websites or videos I watched that said if you ever use one of these, you've destroyed your track. Now there's other people that said it's the first thing they do. So I actually hid mine, and I had a hard time finding it for this meeting because I didn't want to use it anymore. I did go over to Berkshire when Berkshire trained there here in Lexington, and he said he has one here that I haven't tried. I probably spent $10 on something I'll probably never use, but he says that won't scratch the track. So what I plan on doing is I'm gonna take a piece of track. I got a tool microscope at home that I can blow this up. Hopefully I can figure out how to take a picture. But I'm gonna take these different methods and hopefully I can get a clear enough picture that says this is what it looks like if you do this, this, or this, and we'll figure out how to do that. Next. Sandpaper. There are a lot of people thought you could use sandpaper just using finer and finer grit and you get it smooth. But in my opinion, I don't see how you'd ever get down to a smooth surface using sandpaper. But maybe there's a possibility. Steel washer. There's a lot of people that said, I think Rich told me a little bit about this. Just take a washer, buy your washer, and rub that on your track. They call it burnishing, I think, and went curbside up, and just run that around your track. And I've not tried that. I'm gonna actually try that on my track since I have used the Bright Boy. And I think that's the first thing I want to try. Files are not recommended unless you've got a burr where you cut the track or something. You really can't use a file to get a smooth surface. The last one just comes from me, and I talked to Frank a little bit. Frank Stevenson, he's a tool die maker. Made a lot of molds and that. Is to use diamond paste and stone. That's actually how they finish molds and polish them. Frank said that in today's world now, it's got very, very expensive, but you can get a mirror finish with that. And I think that would be very good for your contact. The other thing, I don't think I have it in here, but just your old stones that you sharpen your chisels with, your pocket knives and stuff. I didn't see any of that online, but to me, that would be very good to polish that surface also. What I use a lot of times when I have a slow spot in my track, I take a microfiber cloth. Hopefully it doesn't leave your filaments on it, but I just rub it really hard. And just a lot of no grease, but elbow grease, but just clean it really good, and it seems to work pretty good. I couldn't find a piece and I fell a piece wrong. A lot of them we used it on the Louisville show last time. Just take a piece of hardwood. It has to be hardwood. You don't want pine or anything like that. And rub it. They were using it at the Louisville show the last time. Quite a few people. If you go to the store behind us here, there's Woodcraft. Next to the cashier, sure, they got a huge couple bins. Most of the time they'll give you a piece. I haven't got there yet to do that, but that's the other one I want to try.
I think they got a price on everything in
Well, every time I've ever said, how much do you want for this? They said, just take it.
there. Okay.
But I'm not asking for big pieces. Chemicals, across the board. Transmission fluid, WD-40, a lot of contact cleaners. If you've ever been on YouTube, there's a guy named Ron, he calls Ron Trends and Things. He had this contact cleaner here. In the first video he did, he just thought it was the cure all for all our problems. About a year later, he came back and kind of backed off and said, I don't know yet, and he was going to do more research, but that was the review from Amazon. It is like conductive, so when you do put it on, it kind of helping you with conductivity. But a lot of them are contact cleaners that you use in electric motors to clean the contacts between the motor and that. Next one, Goo Gone. These are just from Don and Bruce, and different cleaners. Most of the alcohols you buy now are 70% to 90% alcohol. The rest of it is water. So you're actually putting water on your track, depending on how quick it evaporates or not. You can get stuff stuck to it. Shop towels that are to wipe it all off at the end there. A lot of people thought transmission fluid was the thing to use, like coating the transmission fluid, but then there's a lot of people that said not to do it, so. So like I said, at the end here, we'll figure out how to even this is from Bruce and John, that they even said to try using graphite sticks also. Just one other thing that just from my experience is don't ever use any cleaners that have citrus in them. These lemon flavored, orange flavored, those will attack plastic. I learned that the hard way like that when I worked at IBM Lexmark. We actually had to pull it off all our assembly lines. It was cracking all the covers from the only thing that we found of all the different cleaners was Windex. Your old blue Windex was the only thing that was safe to actually do that. So my challenge is maybe everyone in the room can pick out some of these and we'll try them out and see how it works when you lay out and try to get back and let us know the results. So I got one more. Like I say, credits to John, Amazon reviews, a lot of YouTube videos, search the internet. It was also interesting that the guys in the United Kingdom don't think like us, and they all have their really strong opinions versus what our group of Americans have. So, you know, if you get on, it's very interesting. They're nice to watch. So I just put them on the TV and sit there and watch it.